Some people find their purpose through success. Jarrod Barakett found his through pain. After losing his daughter, facing betrayal, watching a business collapse, and then enduring emergency spinal surgery, Jarrod reached the kind of crossroads most people never speak about publicly. The kind where achievement no longer protects you, where discipline is no longer enough, where the question is not, how do I win, but who am I becoming through all of this? Today, Jarrod is the president of The Light System, a wellness technology company built around light, frequency, intention, and the body's extraordinary capacity to shift when given the right environment. But the real story is not the technology. The real story is the man behind it. Jarrod's work is rooted in something rare in the wellness world: humility, restraint, and personal responsibility. He's not here to sell a miracle. He's here to explore what becomes possible when people stop outsourcing their healing, stop ignoring the signals from their body, and start participating in their own transformation. This is a conversation about grief, resilience, discipline, trust, and the quiet moment when pain becomes a doorway to a very different life. And before we start this episode, a quick word from our sponsor, Deep Wealth, and the 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery Program. Here's Jane, a graduate, who says, and I quote, "The Deep Wealth Mastery Program prevented me from making what would have been one of the biggest mistakes of my career. I almost signed on the dotted line with an unsolicited offer that I now realize would have shortchanged my hard work and my future had I accepted that offer. Deep Wealth Mastery has tilted the playing field to my advantage." Or how about Lynn? Wow, he gets right to the point, and I quote, "Deep Wealth Mastery is one of the best investments ever made because you'll get an ROI of 100 times that. Anyone who doesn't go through this will lose millions." And as you're listening to these testimonials, are you wondering if you have the time? Are you even thinking that you've got this covered? You have the advisors or people in your network? Well, I got to tell you, these myths, they're often behind the 90% failure rate for liquidity events. Think about it. You have one chance to get it right for your financial freedom. You really want to make it count. And when it comes to time, let's hear what William has to say. We just got in this testimonial. William says, and I quote, "I didn't have the time for Deep Wealth Mastery, but I made the time and I'm glad I did. What I learned goes far beyond any other executive program or coach I've experienced." So what do you think? As I hear that, that's exactly what gets me out of bed every day. That's my mission. That's the team's mission here at Deep Wealth, to literally change the social fabric of society, one business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. And my Deep Wealth Nation, what I want you to know, the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, it isn't theory. It's from the trenches. It's the only one based on a 9-figure deal. And that deal, that was my deal. You know my story. I said no to a 7-figure offer. I created a system that later on, myself and my business partners, we said yes to a different buyer, a different offer, a 9-figure deal. That's what we now call the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, or the Scale for Ultimate Sales system. It's built by business owners for business owners. So if you're interested in growing your profits, for preparing for a future liquidity event, and that may be 2 years away, it could be 22 years away, whatever the time may be, you want to do this now, and you want to optimize your post-exit life. Deep Wealth Mastery is for you. To get started, email success@deepwealth.com. Again, that's success, SUCCESS, at deepwealth.com. You'll receive all the information about the Deep Wealth Mastery Program, or better yet, why not hop on a complimentary strategy call? We'll go through exactly where your business is today and what's standing between you and your financial independence and your dreams. So that's where you want to be. You want to be with other successful business owners, entrepreneurs, and founders just like you. They're looking to grow their businesses, create market disruptions, and unlock their financial freedom to get what they deserve. And whether you've been in business for 3 years, 40 years, you're a startup, you're in manufacturing, you're in high tech, low tech, whatever the case may be, come on in and network with other business owners. It's a safe space. It's a confidential space with business owners, with businesses just like you, because they all want to lock in their financial freedom and enjoy both success and fulfillment. So again, the 90-day Deep Wealth Mastery Program, it has your name on it. All you need to do is take the next step. Please send an email to success@deepwealth.com. Deep Wealth Nation, welcome to another episode of the Deep Wealth Podcast. Well, Deep Wealth Nation, you know us here at Deep Wealth. We always, and I recommend always, say our health is our first wealth. It's our sovereign right. So let me ask you something, Deep Wealth Nation. Answer me honestly. When you woke up this morning, How did you feel? Do you have the brain fog? Was it, oh man, it's hard to get out of bed and you don't have that spring in your step? Or were you clear, full of energy? Can't wait for the day to begin. Sadly, for most founders, it's the former, not the latter. And the question is, well, what do we do? Where do we begin? What is going on? You heard the official introduction. We have an incredible guest in the House of Deep Wealth, a fellow founder, thought leader, someone who is literally changing lives, making a difference out there. But I'm going to put a plug in it. Jarrod, welcome to the Deep Wealth Podcast. An absolute pleasure to have you with us. There's always a story behind the story. What's your story? What got you from where you were to where you are today?
Well, thanks for having me. This is exciting. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. It was a long road that got me to where I am, one that I never saw coming. And my background is the golf industry. I'm a soil chemist by trade, degree in agricultural sciences. And so I spent a lifetime, 30 years in the golf business, building, maintaining golf courses. In 2010, I started a consulting business. So exited kind of the maintenance part and ended up consulting. That was my first crack at starting my own business. Became quite lucrative. I was consulting with very high-end golf courses from coast to coast and with great success. Then in probably 2016, I had a phone call asking me if I would come take a look at a cannabis cultivation in Southern California. And I did. And with my recommendations and having found a lab down there that would work on cannabis, put together a series of recommendations that they followed. And it was shortly after that they wanted me on full time. So wrapped up my consulting business. The job title was Chief Cultivation Officer, which is a funny title, but so be it. And that turned into managing director of what ended up being probably the second largest cannabis dispensary chains in Southern California and Nevada. I had an absolute blast doing that and doing it very well until such time as COVID hit, the borders closed down, and I had a choice to make, be with my family in Toronto and try to manage the business appropriately from there, or stay in Southern California and not see my girls. So I made, what I would say is the responsible decision that any responsible, loving father would do, and decided to move back to Canada and work my hardest to manage the business from there. Fortunately, my business partner was selling off all the proceeds to be able to afford his habits, putting it up his nose and into slot machines. And before I knew it, everything was gone. I'm not that young of a guy, and that wasn't too long ago. That was a big part of my retirement, was locked up in that business, all to be sold out from under me, which was devastating to say the least. But truthfully, what I've done in my entire life and what I've been really good at is establishing, maintaining, and relying heavily on relationships. I really attribute all of my growth and all of my success on the relationships that I have and being able to leverage them and be able to work with people who I now call friends. And that's what happened. So I was introduced to a technology that I'm working with now. Essentially, it was the marketing arm of people that held the technology or used the technology. So I ended up taking the role of chief operating officer of a company called Unified Healing, which essentially was responsible for maintaining a global community of center owners employing this sort of technology and also driving traffic to their locations. So that I had an absolute blast doing that. Again, met beautiful, wonderful, intelligent, compassionate, and passionate people around the world with the same ultimate goal, and that is to help humanity heal. So it's been an incredible adventure. And about, let's call it 18 months ago, the owner of the technology reached out to us and asked us if we would be interested in signing a licensing deal and taking over the sales and manufacturing of the technology. And we jumped in with 2 feet. So since, I guess, December 24, January 25, I've been running what we call the light system as president. And we've refurbished the entire line. We've created a whole slew of in-home units. So we now have both commercial, in-home, and it has been massively successful. It's been a hell of a lot of fun. And we're really excited for the future too, because we have a product that genuinely helps people heal themselves from whatever ails them. And that might be something as simple as you started the conversation with, is brain fog, but even beyond that. So really exciting stuff.
And Deep Wealth Nation, a quick few things. Go to the show notes. Everything we talk about today is in the show notes. And at the same time, this is not medical advice. It's 2 friends by a fireside chat, aka Jarrod and Jeffrey, sharing their thoughts and opinions. Before you do anything, always check with your doctor or a medical professional on your end. So Jarrod, let me ask you this. Business, whoever said business isn't personal has never been in business. And as you're going through your story, I was preparing for today as well. I saw a lot of me in you. because you come across to me as someone who trusts, and I've trusted. And along the way, that trust can be taken advantage of, as it was in your case. And so then when you come out of that, it was a challenging period for you, and there was a lot on the line, and there you were at the opposite end of where you'd want to be. So for all of the founders out there, business owners, entrepreneurs that have either been in that situation before, yeah, I got burned, I trust so and so, and this happened, not so great, or I'm just a trusting person, haven't had that happen yet, but it could. How do you deal with that? Looking back, lessons learned, and what would you share with Deep Wealth Nation of, hey, if it's happened or it hasn't happened, here's what it was like for me. Maybe it can be like this for you. What would you say to that?
First and foremost, listen, I preach accountability. I demand it from those around me, those that work for me, my family, my friends. And you can't do that without accepting it and fully believing it for yourself. And when I say accountability, you have to be fully willing to accept all of it, not a little bit, and you don't get to pick and choose. It's all or nothing. You have to be 100% accountable for every single action that you make on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. There's a lot of power in that. I can sit here and I can blame my ex-business partner all I want. Truthfully, it's not his fault. He's a drug addict and it's a sickness, and it's my fault. It's truly my fault for, as you say, putting the trust in him. In there is the accountability. I am accountable for that, and I remain accountable for that to my family. The big thing is, though, when you understand the accountability and you take control of it, then all of a sudden now you also have control of what's next. And we don't have time to focus on what was. We only have time to focus on what's next. There's a saying in golf, as I said, I started in the golf business. Saying in golf is the most important shot in golf is the next one. Meaning, doesn't matter what happened yesterday or last year. None of that matters. All that matters is what you're going to do now. Are you going to sit there? You're going to wallow in self-pity, feel sorry for yourself? Or you're going to get back up on that horse and take tomorrow and next week by the horns and prevail?
Yeah, some great advice of, hey, I can play the victim or the victor, and I'm not going to play the victim, and perhaps Ronald Reagan, trust but verify on a going forward basis. And yeah, we take our best shot, and sometimes it may not work out as intended, but many lessons learned. So that said, the light system, what's going on with that? So for someone in Deep Wealth Nation who hasn't heard about this yet, big picture wise, why don't we start with the basics? Why don't we go with the glass is half full, which is not typical for us entrepreneurs and founders alike. It's, yeah, the glass is always, it's always going to be half full. It's not half empty. And I'm just going to make things happen and go out there and get that. But what are we up against when it comes to our health that we may not even be aware of? And then we'll talk about how the light system is stepping in to fill in those gaps. So for most people out there, what's going on with their health they may not even know in the background?
So whether you choose to believe it or not, the fact is that we are all beings of energy. We are electrical beings, just like an electrical car. We have batteries, and our battery needs to maintain a certain charge, or call it voltage, in order to operate. When that charge or voltage gets too low, like your car, needs to be recharged, we need to be recharged. Historically, we have been able to recharge through two main mechanisms, one being rest, the other being digestion. So while we sleep, we recharge our batteries. While we eat, we intake our caloric intake, provides energy and nutrients for our body. The problem that most people don't know, a lot more people are starting to become awake to it, is that rest isn't what it once was. Now, when we're sleeping, we're surrounded by Wi-Fi. We have dirty electricity coming out of the sockets in our home, and our homes now are so tightly buttoned up that there is no air circulation in there. So we're, ingesting a lot of dust mites and other toxins that are building up within our own homes. So while we're resting now, our body is still having to fight all these things, from the EMFs, from the sockets, our cell phones, our Wi-Fi, through the toxins we're breathing in. And to make matters worse, now while we're eating, we're barely even eating real food these days. So the foods we're eating are covered in pesticides, and they're genetically modified to a point where they barely even resemble food. And the animals we're eating have been medicated to the point where we're now ingesting all those medicines as well. And all of that requires us to fight. So now while we're sleeping, while we're eating, when we're supposed to be recharging, we're using all of that energy during the eating and sleeping phases in order to fight the toxins that are entering our bodies. So what do? If the two mechanisms historically are what was available to us in order to function on a daily basis, and all that's being depleted during the times when we should be increasing our cellular voltage or our electrical conductivity, we're left to look for other ways to do that. And increasing mitochondrial activity right now is a real catchphrase within the biohacking world. Everybody's kind of hopping on that bandwagon. But what I can tell you is us at the Light System, we have documented, verified, quantifiable proof through research we do with a third-party quantum biologist, Dr. Glenn Ryan, who's a Stanford researcher, Harvard PhD, that actually shows, and we have the data on our website, an increase in electrical conductivity within our body cells after use. And we measure this on an ongoing basis through all of our technology, both prior, during, and post exposure to our technology. So now we're at a point where we can say, and I'm extremely proud that I can look all of my customers and all of the naysayers in the eye and say, listen, we have the data. We have the data. And this is a company that spends a lot of time and a lot of money on research to be able to back up everything we say. And that's extremely important.
And duplication, as we're talking about this, with what Jarrod is sharing, it's what ancient civilizations have known for eons, and science is now starting to finally catch up and prove out. We are energy, plain and simple, and the mitochondria in our bodies, if I can use some fancy terms there, we're like one big energy or one big battery. And Jarrod, to your point that you could say, Jeffrey, on base or off base, if we don't recharge that battery, if we don't give it what it needs, our energy is going to falter, our health is going to suffer. And so with what I'm hearing you say is, with the Light System and the technology behind it, you're helping us to repair that in ways that maybe we could have once upon a time, maybe our grandparents or great-grandparents, but today, with the air quality or lack of it, the pollution in the environment, the water, the air, the food, everything else, it's very difficult to do. How am I doing with that?
You're spot on. And to take it one step further, when your electrical charge gets so low, that's when you get sick, right? Our body is extremely intelligent. It knows how to heal itself. That's what it was designed to do. If you cut yourself, that cut heals. For most of us, if you get a splinter over time, if you're not one that likes digging splinters out, your body will push that splinter out of your skin. If you catch a cold, you'll get over that cold. But what happens when you no longer have that electrical reserve within your body to be able to fight? And that could be for a number of reasons that I won't get into. But if your electrical charge, if your reserve isn't high enough to fight, that cut will become septic. That cold could turn into pneumonia, right? So our body needs tools in order to not just function, but to be able to heal. And that, with us being electrical beings, happens to be electricity, happens to be having the fuel your body needs to fight. Now, the beautiful thing about that is that it translates well beyond something as serious as any of that, right? You don't have to be sick or have an ailment or anything like that. Increasing your electrical charge puts you at a more optimum level. It puts you in a position to be able to perform at a more optimum level on a daily basis. So again, you opened with brain fog. It helps me tremendously with brain fog. When I'm around the technology, I'm an entirely different person. I love the guy I am. Everything just seems easier, from speech to phone calls to the jokes that come out of my mouth, dealing with people. Everything is so much easier. And beyond that, recovery. I'm a guy that loves spending time in the gym, and I'll be exhausted at 50 years old now. I'm not a kid anymore. So when I get out of the gym, I'm tired. But I sit in one of our pieces of technology, and within 20 minutes, half an hour, I'm right back to where I need to be.
And Deep Nation, as you're thinking about this, here's what I really want you to think about. And I don't care if you're looking to keep your company forever or sell it tomorrow. The point is, you've got to stay in business. You got to be in business to do any of those things. And so if you have the brain fog, if you don't have the energy, if you're just, I don't know, I'll put it off to tomorrow, I just can't deal with it, I don't have the focus, forget about selling the business or bringing in investors or 10xing or 100xing the business. You're struggling day to day. You may not have a business, not because you don't have a great business, not because you don't have the right strategies, because you as the visionary, probably your team as well, don't have the energy, the focus to do that. And Deep Nation, go to the show notes again, click on the links. You're not seeing in the audio what I'm seeing with Jarrod here. And my goodness, it's absolutely gorgeous, the technology with the background and what's going on there. So Jarrod, for Deep Nation, they're listening to us right now, they can't see us. Can you walk them through what's going on? So I show up to one of these centers, or, okay, yeah, here I am. I want to buy this for myself, or I want to try a session. what does it look like? What am I doing? How long does it take? What am I feeling? And how and the why am I feeling what I'm feeling after all is said and done? A lot of questions in there, but walk us through your system in terms of what it would look like for me. And we'll tune into WII.FM, the world's favorite radio station. What's in it for me, as in Deep Wealth Nation. So walk us through. I'm now going to have a session with the light system. What's going on?
So first off, let me say, we like to describe it as medicinal art because we created a line of products that are truly are beautiful to look at. They're showstoppers. If you have them in your living room, everybody that walks through the front door looks at it, immediately say, oh my gosh, what is that? So for us, it was very important, not just to produce a product that worked, but also that people wanted to have around and wanted to have on display. That's the immediate thing, is just seeing this really cool piece. Now, beyond that, a lot of science. And it's hard to describe. So I urge everybody to go to the website to be able to check it out, to be able to actually see what I'm talking about. But we use three main pillars or avenues in order to, as I said, put the body in a better position to heal itself. We don't do any healing. The technology doesn't claim to do any healing. The innate ability of your body to be able to do that can do it with the right tools that we can provide. So three main avenues. One, polychromatic therapy. Polychromatic therapy is a fancy way of saying full spectrum light therapy. Every color of light brings benefit to the body, and not just one. Everybody knows about red light, but there's blue is great for regulating circadian rhythm. Yellow is great for digestion. Green's good for your nervous system. Red's good for circulation. Orange is good for reproduction. On and on. We employ all of those different colors, and those colors are received by the bodies through the frequency of that light color. So the frequency of the light color is emitted through our technology and is received by you. So again, it's not like a red light panel where you need to be glued up against it in order to penetrate the skin. Every beam of light or photon carries a frequency that is received by your body. Beyond that, we have coded affirmations. So scrolling through the screen are a series of codes that you can't read. And behind those codes are an English language, and that English language is speaking in terms of affirmations. Affirmations by nature are designed to help your mind believe, and if your mind believes, your body will follow. Now, not everybody, I would venture to guess that most highly successful individuals, be it entrepreneurs or athletes, do exercise some form of affirmations on a daily basis. And that's because we all understand the importance of your mind believing something. And if your mind believes, your body will follow. So our affirmations are based on the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto, who was a Japanese doctor, who found that you were able to restructure water through the use of words. That was his initial thought. But what he later found was, how could that be? How could you restructure water through words if water doesn't speak any kind of language and doesn't have any eyes or ears? And so he learned this, and he understood the water was restructuring by several experiments where he talked to one bowl of water, and when he froze it, when he spoke to that bowl of water in a beautiful way, maybe called it beautiful, when he froze it, it froze in a beautiful crystalline pattern. Conversely, if he spoke to another bowl of water and told it it was ugly or worthless, when he froze that water, it froze in a more chaotic, no beauty whatsoever, just a sheet of ice. So in that, he realized, listen, if it doesn't have eyes or ears and doesn't speak any particular language, how on earth could he possibly be restructuring the water in a beautiful or chaotic way based on the words he was using? And what he understood, or what he at least thought, was it was through the frequency of the word. So every word carries a frequency. And so he took it one step further. Now this time he looked at the water, and in his mind, without saying a word, he expressed beauty to the water. And when he froze it, again, it froze in a beautiful crystalline pattern. And conversely, when he looked at the water and expressed or thought that it was ugly or worthless, again, it froze in a more chaotic state. So words, or the frequency of words, can impact the structure and restructure water. We are made up of between 70 and 80% water. So through the reception of affirmation, or the frequency of the affirmations, we are literally restructuring the water within ourselves, putting our body in a more coherent state. So we are now able to increase the efficiency in which energy is flowing through our body. And remember, we've already established earlier today, we're energy beings, we are electrical beings. And if we can increase the efficiency in which energy flows through our body, the better place we will be. It is widely known that most ailments are caused by energy blockages or stagnant energy that is not moving properly. And if we can get that energy moving properly, again, our body is in a better position. So that's two. Coded affirmations, polychromatic therapy. The last, and also very cool, is biophotonic collisions. So when you sit within our systems, we often have opposing monitors. From each of the opposing monitors, we have emission of photons. Photons leave each opposing monitor, and right in the center, they collide. And it's in that collision that is created a burst of energy that is able to energize us on a cellular level. So through that biophotonic collisions, we are increasing the electroconductivity of our body's cells. And this, again, we've done the research. Our chair product, after 1 hour of exposure, on average, produces an 80% increase in electrical conductivity within our body cells.
Wow, my goodness, there is a lot going on there. And Deep Health Nation, as you often hear me say on the podcast, when I hop into my car, I don't understand how the engine works. I know I push the button, the engine starts, and off I go. And you don't have to necessarily understand all the science behind this. And what we're hearing, though, and Jarrod, it just makes sense. Even if I go back to what many call the Bible of business back in the day, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, he's talking about the self-affirmations. And for those of you familiar with the experiments, maybe you don't remember the scientist's name that he was talking about, the Japanese scientist, but you'll remember these beautiful snowflakes from the water. And it was symmetry, and it was gorgeous to look at. And then same water, but a different word or different feeling or emotion. And it was disjointed and it didn't look so good. And it was, my goodness, it's like chaos of what's going on there. And so, Jarrod, when we take what you're sharing and we now apply that to the human body, which is primarily water and cells, that's really what we are if you get it down to the basics. And so the environment that we're around, the negative news that we're listening to all the time, social media and the doom scrolling that we're doing, the food that we're eating, if you can even call it that these days. So what I'm really hearing you say is it's all taking a toll on our body, on our mitochondria, on our cells, preventing us from being the best that we can be. How am I doing with that?
Yeah, you're spot on. Again, being electrical beings, you need that electrical charge. And so, yeah, by all the ways that you just mentioned, that charge is being brought down. We have found a way to bring that charge back up, putting you in a better position to function at a more optimum version of yourself on a daily basis.
And so whether it's going to be, I know you have the cube, you have the chair. Why don't you walk Deep Health Nation through, well, what's the cube? What's the chair? What's involved with that when I'm in the presence of this technology? Again, gorgeous to look at. Am I doing anything? Can I just be in a regular meeting? Is it like a meditation kind of session? What's going on with that behind the scenes?
So we have, and by the way, we are genius when it comes to naming our products. We really like to think outside of the box. When we came up with the cube, we thought we should probably name it the cube. And when we came up with the pyramid, we named it the pyramid. And we came up with the sphere, we named it the sphere. Our chair program is called the chair. I'm wearing our watch. We call it the watch. And then we have a smaller version of the cube that we call the Cube Mini. Listen, they're all self-explanatory, and that's what they are. But there's a lot of power in geometry, right? Just the shape of a pyramid provides power without it even doing what we have it doing, what you can see, but the listeners can't. The shape of the pyramid provides a lot of power. Similar, so does a sphere. So we employ geometry in order to, one, listen, it looks beautiful, but we employ the geometry because there is a lot of power within sacred geometry that we're also tapping into. Within our home unit, so the Cube Mini, the cube, the sphere, and the pyramid, they're really designed to sit in your home or a wellness center. And generally speaking, when you walk into a room, sure, you're going to see it and you're going to say, wow, what is this? And tell me all about that if you have company over. But what is happening that they may not be picking up on is a sense of calm, a sense of home, a sense of reassurance that everything is okay. And if you're sensitive to energy, you may pick up on it. There's a lot of people that when we go to different trade shows or gravitate to these objects from across the room because they're being pulled in by the energy and they absolutely love it. But if you're not in tune with your energetic self, what you end up feeling without even knowing that it's happening until maybe later that night when you're out of the environment is that overwhelming sense of calm and assurance that everything is okay. It's truly remarkable what it does. And when exposed to it on an even longer basis or a permanent basis, if you will, they're all designed to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for you to just be around it, is that heightened version of yourself. And from that comes that sense of calm, right? There's a lot of power in understanding that everything is going to be okay. Regardless of how terrible things are today, everything will be okay.
Absolutely. And so when I'm having a session, how long would a typical session be and how often should I have that? What is that looking like?
Our science or our research in the chair, for example, is 60 minutes in order to get the bigger bang. But again, our in-home units, they're designed to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't have to sit next to it. You just have to be. Let it run, do your things. If it's in your office, work away. If it's in your living room, watch TV, read a book. It doesn't matter. You're not meant to look at it or take in a session. You're just meant to be around it. Now, our commercial units, if you were to visit one of our centers, and listen, we have hundreds of them in dozens of countries around the world. If you were to visit those centers, it's generally a 2-hour session at one of the centers. But again, if you are somebody who needs more help, so if you're going through something where your body is physically going through. And remember, we already established that when you're sick, it's because your charge is too low. If you really need to increase that charge considerably, you can do, most of the centers offer overnight sessions. And again, we are in-home units are meant to be around 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you want to spend more time around it, I guess is what I'm trying to say, if you are going through something profound.
Okay, so it could be something that's in my home or in the office, or I can come to a center if that's not going to be feasible for me. And that's where I'm beginning to get the benefits. And I suppose if it's in my home, would it be something like almost this invisible force field, if you will, around my home that's protecting me, that's kind of clearing out the quantum energy or the energy within the home and ultimately myself, or something different going on?
Yeah, so it's producing quantum energy, which is protecting you, which is increasing the electroconductivity within your body cells. What it also does is it harmonizes your biofield. It harmonizes the energy around you. In instances where we get this question all the time, oh my gosh, look at everything that's happening. The EMFs must be off the chart. They're not off the chart. They barely register at all. We have a small, tiny little personal computer in there, and that's really the only thing producing any kind of EMF, and it's negligible. But the bigger thing is through that quantum energy, through that harmonization, through the increase in coherence within the environment, we are able to restructure all of the chaos that's happening that you can't see. We can restructure all of that chaos and bring it back into coherence, bring the field around us back into coherence, bring the energy within us back into coherence.
Okay. And Default Nation, as you're hearing us speak, you may be saying, okay, yeah, Jeffrey, I hear you. Jarrod, I hear you. You seem like nice guys, but you kind of lost me at this quantum energy or this force field or these other kinds of things. Again, Default Nation, go to the show notes, go to the links, go to the site, and you'll see all the scientific study. And if you're a numbers person, all the data that goes behind this, it's not just the two of us off in woo-woo land making this up. There's the actual, if you will, evidence to be able to support this. And ultimately, try a session for yourself and see the results for that. So, Jarrod, let's look to yourself, if I could, or even a client example that you have when, again, for yourself or someone in the community, your community, first learned about this, started to get introduced to technology, started having these sessions. Walk us through the before and after in terms of what it was like, in terms of how I felt or what I'm seeing or what this meant in my personal life or business life. What was happening there? What's going on?
So when you had asked me about my history, I didn't get too much into it. I kind of raced through it, but I will tell you, because you're asking this question, and how it has affected me personally and how I have benefited from it. In 2018, I lost my 12-year-old daughter in a tragic boating accident. And when I tell you that the pain I suffered in that moment, on that day, and the years to follow was unbearable, it would be the understatement of a lifetime. It's not something I'll ever get over. But what I can tell you is that there is no way in hell I would be able to lead this global company at the level that I'm doing, growing it at the speed and rate that it's growing. Listen, I have a fantastic team around me, that without a doubt. But just for me personally to be able to operate, there's no way I would be able to do that given that tragedy and how it has haunted me for so long without employing this technology. Because, as I said earlier, when I'm around it, I get this flow. All of the pain, all of the anguish, all of the anxiety, all of the trouble dissipates and goes away. And I'm finally able to focus with extreme clarity, energy, excitement, and passion. This product has the innate ability to be able to turn you into a greater version of yourself, no matter what has happened to you in the past. So that is the mental. That is how it has helped me personally on a mental level and how it continues to help me on a mental level. We can talk about the physical level. About a year and a half ago, or almost 2 years ago, I suffered. Well, I didn't suffer anything. I've always worked my tail off. And in order to do that, I've always taken things to the extreme. And so that meant in hockey, playing hockey and football and rugby. As I grew older, competitive snowboarding, to skydiving, to bungee jumping, then to heavy lifting, to boxing. Everything I did, I always did, I'll say, balls to the walls. And what I didn't know, and listen, I fought in Golden Gloves at the age of 40, so it's not something that I stopped as a kid. I've been doing it my whole life and even now continue to do it. But what I didn't know is that all of that had done damage over the years and started to catch up with me. And I started to experience some excruciating back pain. And I just thought it was because I was late in my 40s now. And that's just what's supposed to happen. You get older and you start to hurt. I didn't really put too much thought into it, even though it was almost unbearable. But then I started to fall playing beer league baseball. My head would be running faster than my legs because my legs couldn't keep up with my brain. And all the kids that are watching the dads play are all laughing, right? There goes Jarrod falling again, rounding first. He's going head first into the dirt in the outfield, going to catch a ball, falling over. That was all well and good, and it was fun for people watching. But some more serious stuff started to happen. My body started to tell me things like I started to lose a little bit of continence here and there. And that's when my wife said, Jarrod, that's enough. You need to see somebody. And so went into emergency and they did an MRI on the spot. And they told me that my spinal cord was so severely compressed that I was literally flirting with paralysis. And they didn't want me to leave the hospital because they didn't know when paralysis was going to happen. It could be immediately or it could be a couple of weeks down the road. I underwent emergency spinal surgery, and that was hard. And if you remember from the beginning, I didn't mention it because I didn't think it was important, but it's important to this story. My business partner that sold everything out from under me was also my cousin, and he had developed a considerable opiate addiction. And so when I left the hospital and they gave me, a handful of opiates, the first thing I wanted to do was get off them. I knew I needed them at first, but I think it was 2.5 weeks in, 3 weeks, I made a decision to just get off of it because it wasn't worth the risk. And I understood that, addiction is hereditary or could be hereditary, and that's not a road I was going to go down. With that came excruciating pain. And so by week 6 or 7 is when I got turned on to this technology. That's in the point in my life where I found it and started working with it and started experiencing it. And the doctor had told me when I left the hospital not to go to the gym under any circumstances for 6 months. That was week 6 or 7. I started exposing myself to the technology. By week 10, I was back in the gym. That's 14 weeks early. I was back in the gym. And at 6 months, the date when I was supposed to go back to the gym, I was already in the best shape of my life.
My goodness. So firstly, our heartfelt condolences on your loss, Jared. There really are no words for something like that. And thank you for being so open and vulnerable with that. You're speaking from the heart. And you're also sharing how such a low point in your life could have gone in different directions. You had the will to move on. You also had the help through this technology. And so here you are, all this short while later. I am where I am in part because I had some help with the technology to help clear some things up on the physical side, perhaps on the mental side, even on the spiritual side, in terms of getting you to where you are. And I don't want to put words in your mouth. It sounds like without the technology behind the scenes, this would be a very different Jarrod, a very different story in terms of what would have gone on. Thoughts about that?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's on both levels, both the mental and the physical. You'd be looking at a much different Jarrod. And I do. I have a very strong network of friends and family. Right? I have a beautiful wife that loves me very much, and I have an absolutely perfect daughter who survived her sister. I have a mother who loves me very much, and an extremely tight friend group that I've known since elementary school. So I'm very blessed and very fortunate in that regards. But even that aside, I had all of that before I got introduced to the technology. The technology has really, this is why I'm so passionate about it. This is why I know in my heart of hearts that it can help so many people, because it has helped me so profoundly and continues to help me so profoundly. Any therapist on the planet will tell you that you're never going to get over something like that happened to me and what happened to my daughter. You're never going to fully get over that. And I know that, and I accept that. But I also know that I wouldn't be able to function at the level that I function at on a daily basis if it wasn't for the technology that you can see behind me that the listeners can.
And so, if the technology from a health level, from where you were to where you are today, such an extreme level that hopefully everyone in Deep Nation will not have to personally experience that. That said, though, if it could help you from where you were at such an extreme, I can imagine what it could do for someone who isn't quite at that extreme. And yeah, they need a little bit of topping up in terms of some more energy or the mitochondria, whatever health issues might be going on within the body that it can help them deal with, so they have that spring back in their step and the focus and the energy to help take them forward. And it sounds as though between the centers, perhaps that's a great first start. Hey, try it. If you like it, then you can look at putting this in your home or in your office. Perhaps the entire team can cycle through at the office and have their own types of sessions. So what is that like in terms of finding a center or having this in the home or office? Walk us through that.
Listen, the first step is visiting our website, www.thelightsystems, that's plural, thelightsystems.com. On that site, you'll find all of our research. You'll see a ton of white papers on all of our technology, or most of the technology, and we're constantly releasing more, and hundreds of testimonials of real life people that have experienced it and what they have seen and what they have gone through and how it has helped them and how it continues to help them. And then you can learn about our technology, what it is, what it looks like. You can book a call with our sales team. And if you're not ready for that, we have a button there to find a center, and you can locate a center near you. As I said earlier, we have dozens of centers and hundreds of countries. I'm more than confident that we have one near any one of your listeners right now. So the people that operate those centers, I also said earlier, they're beautiful human beings. They're extremely passionate, extremely knowledgeable about the technology that they're using, and they would just love to have you in there and be able to show you what they're doing.
And Deep Nation, we are far from wrap up, but again, go to the show notes. It's a point and click. Check it out for yourself. Really encourage you to do that. Hey, how often have you booked a session for yourself to go to the gym, maybe have a personal trainer, or go to the spa and have perhaps a massage or something else? Why not take an hour out for your whole body? Give yourself the gift of life, the gift of energy, the gift of focus. I suspect once you've tried it, you're not going to want to go back to the other way of not having that. And so that said, before we do go into wrap-up mode, Jarrod, I'm wondering, is there an important question that you and I haven't yet covered, or even a topic or message or theme that you want to share with Deep Nation?
This has been great. I think that it gives everybody an understanding of who I am, what I went through, and what tools I've used to overcome and continue to overcome. I've only spoken from my heart on this podcast, and that's because first and foremost, I am a person who cares deeply and profoundly for my fellow man, and any opportunity I can provide to help my fellow man, I'll always do so. Please check us out online. Please do yourself the favor of experiencing the technology. There's not a doubt in my mind that you'll absolutely love it. And as I said, we have products that start, as little as our watch that provides incredible benefits. There's so many watches out there right now that measure all the biometrics, and that's great. And there's other watches out there that help you deal with different ailments, and that's great. But we've really come up with a product that we launched 3 weeks ago that does both. So we quantum charge our wristband that protects you from the EMF signals that come out of smartwatches, which is a big reason why people don't like wearing them. But we also produce all the biometrics, or record all the biometrics that a normal smartwatch does. And that was important to us because it also shows you now in real time how our technology works. So you can measure your heart rate variability before, after, during any one of the sessions, and you can see that the money you're spending on this technology is actually working. Very exciting stuff. And the technology actually scrolls through the screen as well on the watch. We make a conscious decision to ensure that they're helping and not hindering. We as a company understand the harm that EMFs are doing on a daily basis. And so with all of our products, we ensure we do exactly what we can in order to mitigate that harm, eliminate that harm. And when the smartwatch was born in our minds, it was to help the user of our technology understand that there was a benefit of the technology, because through looking at your biometrics, you would be able to see that you were getting better on a daily basis being around the technology. That was where it came from. Then it was, can we have the program scrolling through the watch? The answer is yes. And so we have the coded affirmations scrolling through the watch. You're receiving those all day long, or as long as you have it turned on, you're receiving those coded affirmations. But then again, back to the EMFs, it was important to us. Well, we can't work so hard on an entire product line to ensure little to no EMF emissions and then produce a smartwatch, which is notorious for creating EMFs and making people sick. So that's when we decided to quantum charge the wristband that goes on the watch. And through doing that, through charging the wristband, what we're doing is we're harmonizing that biofield. So the EMFs, one, you can turn it off completely just by turning the Bluetooth functionality off, which a lot of smartwatches don't allow you to do. But with ours, you can just turn off the Bluetooth and all of a sudden the EMF is negligible. But beyond that, the charged bracelet harmonizes your biofield. It harmonizes everything around us. So even when the chaos of the EMF signals enters your biofield, it will either do one of two things. One, it will immediately harmonize the chaos, create more coherence within that chaotic field that has now come in. Or if some of the field was to get through and was to damage a cell, by nature, all of our charge technology increases the electrical conductivity within those cells, helps you heal from that now invasion of the EMF. So we're hitting it twofold. One, we're protecting the body from the instance of that happening. And if it does happen, we're giving the body the tools it needs to fight it.
Absolutely love that. And so you're taking this technology. And by the way, Deep Old Nation, it sounds way out there. I'm going to date myself. It sounds like Star Trek type of technology, or pick your favorite sci-fi. But it's here today and it's been around for quite some time. We just haven't been able to figure out until now how to actually leverage it and how to put that into use. So it sounds like with the watch, you've begun to do that, and now it can be with us everywhere. And as we're recording this, Jarrod, I know we've all heard about the cell phones and the towers and the 5G, the 6G, the 7G, and beyond. With that, even if my office or my home doesn't have the Wi-Fi, I've gone to the trouble of having everything hardwired. Well, I've got my neighbors or my city block, unless I'm out in the country. Now with the satellites up in the air, it's nearly impossible to not have that kind of electrical interference, those beams just 24/7 blasting down. It sounds like this is one potential solution of, hey, this is how I can deal with it while still having the benefits of modern life, of not having to go in some cave in a mountain somewhere and seclude myself. I can be around other people. I can be in the city, but at the same time, I'm also taking care of myself and my body through the watch or through the sensors or having one of the devices in my home or my office. Thoughts about that?
Yeah, and just to let you know too, we have a whole jewelry line of beaded bracelets and necklaces, and all of them are charged as well, offering EMF protection and increasing electrical conductivity within the body cells. So exact same principle as a watch band. The watch band was designed to protect you from the watch, but even before we released the watch, we were charging crystals that can be worn or put in your pockets. We have copper water bottle line that we charge the copper water bottle. So copper provides a ton of benefits that we're no longer receiving ever since they pulled the copper out of our home. So the piping in our homes, but it just alone drinking water out of a copper water bottle is helpful. But we've now charged that copper water bottle. So now the water that you're drinking that's been housed within that copper water bottle is energizing you on a cellular level. So we've got, again, all those products on our website. So there's a lot of them. They're beautiful products. And again, we have the research behind them too. We've got the research behind the water bottle. We've got the research behind the bracelets and the medallions. So check it out.
And at the risk of asking a silly question, as I like to say, the only silly question is the one that never gets asked. So when it comes to charging, whether it be the water bottle or some of the jewelry that you're making, when you say charge, what's that charge? How long does it last? Does it run out? I have to get it recharged. What's that all about? It sounds like it's more on the quantum side of things here, but quickly walk us through that if you could.
Yeah, so we have a large chamber in one room over from where I'm sitting right now. And if you like, when we're off camera, I can show it to you. I'm happy to. It's quantum energy, large copper room that employs sacred geometry and some power to charge whatever it is that we put in there. Some things hold charge better than others, but we know what those things are. So crystals, for example, are very good. Copper is very good. We have nickel products as well that are very good. And stainless steel is very good. And it lasts forever. People ask all the time, we have a medallion that's made of crystal. And the question is always, if I drop it on the floor, is it garbage if it breaks? The answer is no. Now you can't wear it around your neck, so just put one half in one pocket, the other half in your other pocket, and you're good. Other people like to put it in their freezer at home to keep their food charged, or the refrigerator. I know some people put, when they break it, they put it in their beehive, for their bees. So there's a ton of usages for it. The charge never runs out because of the technology we use. It is proprietary technology, so I won't get too much into how it works. You can also Google quantum chambers, if you will, and you would get a sense as to how they work. But they're essentially pulling, again, the chaotic, or pulling the energy from around it into it and embedding it into the objects within the chamber. And so we actually had our quantum biologist yesterday. We locked him in there for 45 minutes because he wanted to see the effect that it would have on his body. He came out and he said it was hot. It got hard to breathe because it's airtight in there, right? But yeah, super interesting stuff. And we're really happy to now have this technology in our warehouse. It's a lot of fun and exciting, and we're learning a lot about it every day.
And so it sounds like with the watch or with the jewelry, it's taking it wherever I go. And it's something that it's not so nerdy or geeky. It just fits right in. If I wanted to, if I want to have it as a showpiece or talk piece, I can do that as well, but it's there. And again, Default Nation, you may be saying, guys, wow, okay, you're really off the reservation right now. This is nuts. This is crazy. Do your own research every day. Another study is coming out that's talking exactly about this and everything that's being discussed. Again, trust but verify. Good old Ronald Reagan. You'll find, though, that the studies are supporting everything that Jarrod is saying. But do your own research. Take nothing that we're saying for granted and see for yourself. But absolutely love where you're going with this, Jarrod, and what you're doing. And sadly, we need to go into wrap-up mode at this point. And so we're going to do that. It's a tradition here on the Default Podcast. It's really my privilege and my honor. Every guest, I ask the same question. It's a fun question. Let me set this up for you. When you think of the movie Back to the Future, Jarrod, you have that magical DeLorean car that will take you to any point in time. So imagine now it's tomorrow morning. You look outside your window. Not only is the DeLorean car curbside, the door is open. It's waiting for you to hop on in, which you do. And you're now going to go back to any point in your life. Jarrod, as a young child, a teenager, whatever point in time it would be, what would you tell your younger self in terms of life lessons, life wisdom? Hey, Jarrod, do this, but don't do that. What would it sound like?
Now you're really setting me up to sound woo-woo. Now being around this energy environment or community, I've learned a lot about myself, and I've learned a lot about the power of frequency and vibration. And I understand now that we all carry a frequency, and it's either a high or a low frequency. And the higher your frequency, the more attractive you are to those that you come in contact with. I now know that I have the ability to impact the entire room by walking into it. And that impact could be positive or it could be negative. I know I have that power, as do you and as do all of your listeners. So what I have learned is that your frequency is so important to who you are as a human being and what that means to your future self. We are Goes back to what I said earlier, accountability. We are all accountable for every single thing that happens to us. On a more fundamental level, that might be the frequency that we're emitting. How many of us have woken up in the morning and thought, I just sense that I'm going to get a fight with my wife today? And you end up getting in a fight with your wife. Now, is that your wife's fault? Not likely. That's your fault because you already had in your mind when you woke up in the morning that you were going to get into a fight. That was your frequency that was emitting, that caused an awkward scenario between her and you where she had to question why you were feeling the way you were feeling or acting the way you were acting. That was you. That was me. I put that out into the universe. That was my frequency. I was vibrating to that level. So when you understand that you now are 1000% accountable for every single thing that happens in your life, you now know that you are also in control of the outcome of every single thing in your life. That's what I would explain to my younger self. Always be aware of your frequency. Always be aware of what you're putting out into the universe. You hear all the time, you put out into the universe what you want to receive. Well, that's because in itself, You're putting out that frequency. You put out a negative frequency, a low frequency, you're going to get a low return. You think you're going to get into a fight with your wife, you're going to get into a fight with your wife. I don't want to draw this on too long, but it's a great story. Is a really good friend of mine, Is he the greatest golfer in the world? No, he's not. Is he the greatest dart player in the world? No, he's got terrible form and he's got a terrible golf swing. But I'll tell you what, he knows that he's going to hit that bullseye, or he's going to hit that triple, or he's going to hit that double. He knows he is. And in knowing that he's going to hit it, he hits it. He knows when he steps on that golf course that he's going to beat you. And 9 times out of 10, he beats you. And again, it's not because he has a perfect swing. It's not because he has a perfect dart trajectory. It's because of that frequency that he is emitting. His belief, his hardcore belief that he is going to win, that makes him win every single time. That's what sets, me apart from Michael Jordan. Right? Michael Jordan knows, Tiger Woods knows. They know they're going to win every single time.
My goodness, Jarrod, with what you're saying right now, this could be an entire episode. So you're 1,000% accountable for everything that happened to you. And as you talk about that, you're putting me on my social media soapbox, which you don't need to get into, where we've lost the accountability. It's everyone else's fault. And they say when I point the one finger, I have all the other fingers pointing back at me. So own it. You know what happened? Well, own it. How did I play a role in it? I'm going to take accountability. I'm going to not play the victim card. I'm going to play the victor card and see what I can do to become the better person for that. And then also our inner thoughts become our outer world, going back to Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, what ancient civilizations have known for eons. I manifest my outer world, but it all begins with my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings on what's going on the inside. So some terrific advice. And that said, for someone in Deep Wealth Nation, Jarrod, they want to learn more. They want to book a session. They want to get a machine. They want to see how this can improve their life, the life of their loved ones, their family members, their team, their business. Where's the best place online to begin to have that conversation?
Best place for all of the research, all of the data, all the testimonials is www.thelightsystems, that's plural, lightsystems.com. You'll be able to speak to a member of our sales team. You'll be able to purchase product there. Whatever you need, you'll be able to find it at thelightsystems.com.
And again, Deep Wealth Nation doesn't get any better. Go to the show notes. It is all there. It's a point and click. Well, Jarrod, that said, congratulations. It's official. This is a wrap. As we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much. So there you have it, Deep Wealth Nation. What did you think? So with all that said, and as we wrap it up, I have another question for you. Actually, it's more of a personal favor. Did you find this episode helpful? Have you found other episodes of the Deep Wealth Podcast empowering and a game changer for your journey? And if you said yes, and I really hope you did, I have a small but really meaningful way that you can actually help us out and keep these episodes coming to you. Are you ready for it? The dramatic pause. I'll just wait a moment. Drum roll, please. Subscribe. Please subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast on your favorite podcast channel. When you subscribe to the Deep Wealth Podcast, you're saving yourself time. Every episode automatically comes to you. And I want you to know that we meticulously craft every one of our episodes to have impactful strategies, stories, expert insights that are designed to help you grow your profits, increase the value of your business, and yes, even optimize your post-exit life and your life right now, whatever you want that to look like. And every time you subscribe and a fellow entrepreneur subscribes, it's a testament to how together, yes, we are changing the social fabric of society. One business owner at a time, one liquidity event at a time. So don't let the momentum stop here. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast channel. You'll never miss an episode. You'll be the first to hear from the top industry leaders, the innovators, the disruptors that are really changing and shaping the business world. And maybe you're commuting, maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're taking a well-deserved break that we spoke all about on this episode. The Deep Wealth Podcast, it's your reliable source for the next big idea that could literally revolutionize your business. So once again, please hit that subscribe button, stay connected, inspired, and ahead of the curve. And again, your next big breakthrough moment, it might just be one episode away. Maybe it was even this episode. So all that said, thank you so much for listening. And remember, your wealth isn't just about the money in the bank. It's about the depth of your journey and the impact that you're creating. So let's continue this journey together. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And as we love to say here at Deep Wealth, may you continue to thrive and prosper while you remain healthy and safe. Thank you so much. God bless.